back.
I'm back as well. My coffee's the drip coffee, so it takes a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I have such a small Italian machine as well. My brother gave that to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the brother, you met him?
Yeah.
Roland.
Yeah.
He gave me one, stainless steel one, so you can heat up water and it drips through the coffee. Mm-hmm. But I don't have coffee beans, so it's not possible to use it.
Here, instant coffee is not really not a very popular thing. Since I've been to the UK, it's something I've actually incorporated into my coffee. Instead of doing, but I do it a little bit differently. Instead of just doing the coffee mix, I do drip coffee, and then I'll use latte mix, like a spoon or two full of that, and then a little bit of splash of milk on top of that, and then coffee.
Yeah, one thing I heard about America is coffee isn't really that good.
It's not. It's much better in Europe.
Yeah,
and I'm a bit of a coffee snob too. I buy some really nice coffee.
So like Wim, then you don't. He surprised me one monkey meet with in the morning. He came to Darren and Emma's house. Mm-hmm. And brought me some fresh brewed coffee, and he's really a coffee connoisseur. Mm-hmm. And it was unbelievable good.
Yeah,
because
it was a bike school that Chris had worked for. We went by to visit.
Yeah,
and she made coffee for us, and oh man, it was amazing. It was fantastic.
Coffee is very, very good if you get the right one.
Yeah, she sent me home with a bag of it. It didn't last a week after I got back to the States.
Yeah, no.
It was fantastic coffee.
Yeah, so maybe I can send you a good pack then. Why not?
Yeah,
because you really gonna get a big package from me.
I appreciate it, man. You don't have to do any of that, but I do appreciate it.
I don't have to. I know, but I want to because. I think it's not necessarily that you give gifts away around Christmas. You should give gifts away any time of the year, because just giving is a nice experience, and it makes both happy, the receiver and the giver. And that's one thing I really do like doing.
Yeah, that's something I've also learned as I've gotten older is I'm really excited, like, for all the presents and stuff that I bought for my family. I'm really excited to watch them open them, and like I can't wait for them to see and just see their faces when they, because I've thought about each one of them, and I'm like, okay, they were really like this, so let me do this and this.
I bought something from America for Roland. Roland is kind of a crazy man about watches, and the only watch I can find which is made out of wood was from America.
Really?
And wood is a special relation with my father, or our father, because he learned doing things in metal work, and passion was wood. And
I really wanted to, for a while, I did think about, I have the room for it now. I didn't before, but I always wanted to get some sort of forge or something to work with, try and do metal work.
Yeah. I learned a little bit, because I have to use metal if I have to, because some supports and beams sometimes.
Well, I learned a little bit of soldering, but that's about as close as I got.
It's good. You can join metal as well with soldering. So it comes in handy to be able to weld.
Well, I've always liked working with my hands. Like, I enjoy making things. For instance, speaking of gifts as well, what I like to do is I brew, I make mead, honey wine.
Yeah.
And so I'll make huge batches of it, and throughout the year, and just give it all away, because I enjoy the process of making it. And I'll keep a bottle or two for me, but I make these big 5 gallons at a time, and gifts. I don't know. I'm not going to drink all of that. I mean, I just give it away to people.
I believe I never had, but I have always had a nice relation to honey because Dad was a beekeeper as well.
Oh, have you seen these things out of New Zealand? All right, so there's these specialty hives, so that whenever you go to get the honey out, you don't have to disrupt the hive. Basically, it's like half the comb is already formed, and they just build the other half. And so on the outside, you turn this little lever, and it breaks. Like it's got this little sliding thing that sort of breaks the.
Yeah, I saw something that was kind of Kickstarter-ish.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was on Kickstarter, and it drains all the honey out of the bottom. That looks really cool. I've wanted to get into beekeeping, and if I did, I would probably go that route because that looked really cool.
Yeah, the conventional type is very time-consuming and very interesting. But other than that, you never have the possibility to taste the wax with honey in it.
That's true. That is something I want to try. I want to try like a piece of comb, like fresh comb with honey and everything. I think that'd be.
You have to open up the deposits.
Yep.
In the hive, and then you have to put it into a centrifuge, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I would call that like that. And I always experienced the whole process because we had to help.
Yeah, of course.
And it's nice to be able to do a really important thing because beekeeping is very important, and
it is.
Many people don't realize that. And I was so proud to see that a small, I believe she was 14 years old, a beekeeper already.
Wow.
And found a solution to a very, very important problem. There's I don't know if you're aware of that. There's kind of a spider-like creature that attaches to the bee and lives in the beehive. And the problem is the bees don't consider those as a threat,
right?
And they die.
Makes sense. Yeah,
and it's very, very important to stop that. And the first time my dad talked about this was way in the 90s. So it's kind of an old problem.
Yeah.
And she was able to do a natural solution to this problem. It just has to do something with acid from the ants.
Yeah.
And that's it. You place a little bit of this acid in a container into the hive.
Yeah.
And it works.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, because if you have a problem with a predator,
yeah,
a natural solution is always the best.
Oh yeah, it's always better.
Because Switzerland has a lot of chemical companies, and the Swiss way to deal with it is normally to develop a drug, and the wrong way, of course. And because everything that would last for years and for generations doesn't come out of chemicals, right. So it's always the natural way, because that would be the way how nature would deal with it.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud because, she's so young.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's a really important problem. And you see, not all people are really dumb, but you see
that, like, well, even kids in general, they think a different way. Like they like there was a study that they did where they showed kids, they gave kids like a paperclip and told them to write down, 50 uses for that paperclip. Yeah. And they tracked it, like for young kids, they can almost complete all 50. Whereas the older you get, you tend to lose your scope, because what happens is your brain comes up with an idea of what a paperclip is, and you lose the ability to think imaginatively about that paperclip. Whereas a child will consider that paperclip and go, okay, well, what if that paperclip was 50 foot tall and made of rubber?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas an adult won't think of that. They'll think of the paperclip as a paperclip. So a lot of times creative solutions come out of children that you would never get from adults just because their brain works differently.
That's the kind of idea or the way how we educate ourselves, because we always have to, if you learn something new, you have to connect it to something you know. And that's the reason why at a certain kind of school, or if you decide to learn something, really, you have to change your mind to work in that way, and everybody is the sum of their experiences.
Well, that was one thing I really enjoyed, or I really like about the internet, is that I've learned so much. Like anything that I've wanted to learn how to do, like I can just go and pull up a few YouTube videos and some papers, and I can get a general understanding about it. And then I can go and do it a few times, and I've got it.
Yeah, help yourself.
I love the ability that the internet gives me to learn. Like most of my mechanical skill has all come from reading online or YouTube videos or diagrams. Like it's all come from stuff like that. You know, even rebuilding a carburetor is like, okay, well, here's the model number for the carburetor. Give me a diagram. Show me how this thing goes back together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's brilliant. I love having the internet.
The only downside is if you really have some special problems or solving some special problems where you need experience for one part and the knowledge for the other part, you don't really get that from YouTube videos.
It's very true. Like I said, in some instances you have to do it a few times before you catch it, and then there are other instances with like there are mechanical pieces within a bike that I won't go near. Like if I had that problem, I'm taking it to a shop.
Yeah, but for me, I dismantled my diesel bike recently because the engine was leaking oil, and I found somebody in Germany that did that and documented very well. So I decided I do it myself, and it went not that bad. But right now, diesel is very unfamiliar for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why I now have the trouble of too much air and too less diesel. So it's not running really good, but it runs. So I didn't fail totally.
Right.
Yeah. So I can learn always.
Yeah, like with most things, there's always going to be a learning curve, and you can always get more from actually having the experience than watching somebody else do it or learning from them. But you can get the general idea about how things go or how things are supposed to go or the theory behind it, and sort of piece together the details as you go. Because there's been a couple times where I've absolutely completely fucked something up and had to order new parts that I broke.
Yeah, it's happened. It really happens to everybody. Really, I had seals that were leaking, and I had to buy them twice because I didn't know the special trick. If the problem was, I had to reopen the engine case, and you destroy that.
Yeah, you destroy that. Yep.
You can manage it.
I got one. I read the torque settings wrong on a tensioner screw for the internal.
Yeah, I can feel you.
So I snapped that bolt right in half.
You know, that's something that I don't really understand, why we couldn't have the same measurement all over the world. It would be so much easier.
It would. It really would. It wasn't even conversion that I got wrong. I just read it wrong. It was in newtons and not pounds, and so I did it in pounds and completely snapped the bolt.
Yeah. Nice.
And not only that, it was a bolt that handled a torsioner that was inside, or tensioner that was inside the engine case. Yeah. So I had to take the whole engine apart to get to where the bolt was.
Yeah, it's always
nice.
It's always nice if you fuck something up, a little thing that you have to do a lot more work.
Yeah, well, not only that,
for the learning curve. It's always best for the learning curve.
There's a rotor inside that engine, and the little it's the doohickey on the KLR, if you've ever heard of it. but it's behind the rotor. So you have to actually get like a lever and a specialized bolt that goes into this rotor to hold everything and clamp everything down so you can take the rotor off. And you basically you're stripping that one half of the engine, and it was a lot more work that went into it just to replace that strip, that one bolt.
If you watch the monkey meat videos, I believe from last year, you see Roland on his bike, his Suzuki bike.
Yeah,
GSX F, I believe. And this year he went with a Honda.
Okay.
It wasn't a new one, but I was doing a small job in a way on the Suzuki. He bought German exhausts and wanted me to change them.
All right.
Yes, it is an inline 4, and of course I wrecked 2 bolts. And then I had to take out
the headers off.
No, I took out the engine.
Okay.
Get them to the factory where I worked and welded them out. So I welded, it was always just the broken studs.
Yeah.
I welded nuts on it and tried to turn it, because when you're welding, the environment around it becomes hot.
It does.
And yeah, I fucked up big time, because it wasn't easy to get an inline 4 out.
I don't imagine.
Alone. It's 70 kilos. It didn't felt like 70 kilos. I have to say, I was surprised how easy I could lift that. Then I had to get the passenger seat out of my car to get the engine in and drive back to the place where I worked, get it into the workshop and do the thing and get it out without knowing anyone at the factory. So it was kind of an interesting Saturday job.
Yeah, how I ended up getting the bolt out. All right, so I rode all over town trying to find. I got a buddy of mine to ride me, trying to find a bolt extraction kit so I could pull this little bolt out that I'd stripped. And I finally found it after like 2 or 3 different stores and like 2 or 3 hours worth of searching. So I finally found what I was looking for. I got home, got the engine case off, got the rotor pulled off, got everything done. And I go to set the little bolt extractors, just reverse threaded drill bit. And I go to set it in the bolt, and it just spins right out. Like I didn't really need it. I probably could have taken a screwdriver and just turned it out. It wasn't even tight in there. I could have easily gone and got it. And I spent 2 hours or I spent all this time and the money getting the stupid tool, and I didn't even need it.
You wanted to be prepared.
Yeah, exactly. I'd assumed it was going to be the absolute worst, and I was going to have to tear down this engine to just replace this bolt.
I had almost the same problem. My first bike, when I with the bike where I went on tour back in 2012, is the Venture. It's a big Yamaha Venture. It's kind of a Goldwing type bike. It's very comfy to ride, and it's built to tour.
Yep. And
I experienced kind of a failure of the clutch, because this one has a hydraulic clutch because of the weight of the.
I've never ridden on a hydraulic clutch.
It's not bad. My MT, the bike where I always go to the UK with, the MT-01 has a hydraulic clutch as well, because with this big engine, it's way smarter to do that. But I experienced failure, and I tried to repair the main hydraulics on the engine. I don't know the right word right now, but it doesn't matter. I saw somebody tried it, and it was an Allen key. So, and it was broken flush with the bolt.
Oh.
And if you ever see the schematics of this venture, you see it's kind of unreachable, and that's the reason why I never ever one of the other owners of this bike tried to replace it again. But I did the other idea of it, because I bought a special normal nut and pounded it on it, so I could retract the bolt finally. But I did that without a proper shop back in my normal garage where I know I usually stored my car.
Yep.
So yeah, it would be normally it isn't allowed to do that.
Of course.
I had a good feeling about it, because the owner was the neighbor, so it's no big deal.
Yeah.
I dismantled the whole bike there, so it's I have nice pictures of it. Just the almost empty frame of that big bike. It's kind of interesting parts you have.
That's one thing I want to do, is I want to find an old probably 70s model Bonneville.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get, from the frame up and just do a complete rebuild.
Yeah.
That's something I actually want to walk my boys through, actually rebuilding the bike from the ground up.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be fun to do.
I tried. I had an idea to do something bike related this winter, and there's an auction platform like eBay for Switzerland, and I stumbled across a Ducati Monster 900.
Ooh.
That would be that the starting bid was way too low, because it had an accident.
Yeah.
And it took me too long to decide if I want to bid or not. I was 2 hours too late, and if I will tell you just about the amount. If you want to buy right now is such a Ducati, you have to buy it around 5,000 Swiss francs, and it was going to a new owner for 1,400 something Swiss francs. So it was really good value, and I really have to say it took me too long to decide. And the next one was it still is kind of, it's a VFR 750.
Okay.
Honda. It's because inline fours are really boring for me. That's the reason.
Well, that's why I went with the triple engine, because everyone's like, oh, you got to get all this stuff. I like the triple. It's got a weird sound. It's unique. Not everybody has 3 cylinders. I just like different.
I have on my drawer to my room where I'm in, there is a contract where I signed to buy a new bike, an MT-09 Tracer, because the normal it's kind of enduro like version with a bit bigger tank, and it's like a touring bike of the MT-09, and the MT-09 is a 3-cylinder as well, so I really like that. And the big touring bike that I have, it's a V4 as well.
Nice.
V4s sound a little bit better.
They do.
Than the inline fours.
I agree.
That's the reason why I chose to try out a VFR. But there was, and again, a second auction for less than 1,000 Swiss francs. I was too late. But the seller, I talked to the seller. The seller said he will have a similar bike again soon, and he will contact me for that. Fantastic. Because I don't want to spend too much on it to buy, because I saw a video on YouTube, but it's always the same problem with a Dutchman who made a naked bike out of it, and with regulations in Switzerland, it's very hard to try.
Yeah,
but I'm going to try, because this was so sexy and the sound was good.
Yep.
And Yeah, I want to try it.
That's one thing I'm not liking about Triumph at the moment is their recent bike release. That is exactly the kind of bike I want to build.
Yeah,
I like that. What they do with the exhaust, the engine configuration. It's exactly what I want to build, and they're making a production bike that's it, and it's like I can just buy one.
yeah, I know, but it's too expensive. No,
It is. It really is. I think it's also an experience thing. I would get more out of it as a project than I would just buying one that's already made.
Yeah, you have a different you have a different relation to
Exactly.
a bike afterwards.
And also it'll
really
be
know it inside out.
Yeah, and it'll be an opportunity to teach my boys a little bit about mechanics, and
I was so angry at me because of this Ducati, because I always imagined I could change the frame. The frame was black.
Yeah.
And the tank and some small bits on it.
Yeah, it's all paint.
So it's easy.
Yeah.
And this would be red. But my idea was to get a red frame afterwards. It would be so nice. And I was 2 hours too late because
that's about how it works.
Yeah, it's like I don't care.
Your luck sounds just like mine.
Yeah, we're the same kind.
Let me go fill this up. I'll be right back. All right. Yes. So in the future, how I'm going to do this is I'll have everything going in through the mixing board, and I'll just have a number people can call in through Skype, and Skype will dial into the mixing board.
All right. Yeah. So kind of a radio station conversation then.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is. And what you can't see here is I've got a decent camera set up, but I've got a really nice mic, which is this area.
I could imagine, because I saw the special filter when good stations have, and yeah, I don't use it that much, so that's the reason why I don't have it.
I know I got a really nice light setup as well. That's for I'm still not sure if I want to do video or not.
Yeah.
I think video conveys a lot because you get facial expressions, and there's a few podcasts out there that they'll do like a video podcast on YouTube, and then for the iTunes release, obviously that has to just be audio. My hosting company for iTunes is going to be up probably next week. I should have that up, so the podcast will be on iTunes.
Okay. I don't have any Apple product, so I don't really care much.
I've got a phone. That's about it. But I think with the name of the podcast, which I was surprised it wasn't taken, but with the name of the podcast and also with the putting it up on iTunes, if you're just scrolling through something and see questionable content, I'm going to click on that.
Yeah, it sounds interesting for people that are really curious.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't want like a lot of YouTubers and people that are out there like, oh, I'm not in it for the money. I'm totally in it for the money, but I'm in it for the money because I want to be able to make a living doing videos, not just.
Yeah, of course, I can understand that.
Yeah.
By the way, I had a funny long conversation with my with an online game on the Xbox 360. Yeah,
I've really been thinking about doing some gaming stuff.
There was a fault in the program, so we just had the possibility to chat with each other, but the game was stopped in a way. Okay. And it was the best hour I had with chatting with somebody from South America. Otherwise, you couldn't met those people.
Well, yeah, that's one thing that's really I really love the whole YouTube thing and making videos, and the one thing I really love is meeting all the people.
And the world will be really like a small village.
Yeah, exactly.
Reach out to people all around the globe.
Yep.
From the security and comfortable seats of your home. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, I've talked to people from Brazil. I mean, I've talked to people from everywhere. There was a guy in South Africa that got on with me and Chris, and we hung out with him for a while.
But it wasn't Mix 7170?
I don't think so.
Because he's a motor vlogger from South Africa.
It may have been him. I can't remember if the guy was a motor. No, he wasn't a motor vlogger. He was a rider, but he didn't make videos.
Because I believe he rides a Triumph as well.
Wow, this guy rides a Triumph or rode a Triumph. I'm not. It may be the same guy because we were talking to him about making videos. He said he wasn't really interested in it, but he might do it something.
Not him. I have to admit, South Africa, the scenery on the coastline, it's freaking amazing.
Yeah,
but
it's a dangerous place.
Yeah, the problem is, if you go down there as a white person, you really have a problem. Yeah. Because yeah, it's a dangerous place, but it's their own fault.
Yeah,
and that's the problem, because the place would be nice. That's the thing I fear, and the reason why I don't want to go to Africa, because
I don't blame you.
I believe most of the people are nice again, like all over the world.
Sure.
They will help, they will be friendly, but you have the crooks as well, and that's the problem.
Of course you do, yeah.
I wanted to do one thing I really planned was going around the Baltic Sea.
That would be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a heck of a ride, because
it'd be a hell of a ride, but I'd enjoy the hell out of it.
13,000 Ks.
Well, I get asked when I do like a long ride or something difficult. I'll get asked, well, why do you do something like that? Isn't it hard? And yeah, sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, but the experience.
But I enjoy it.
Experience everything.
Yeah.
You experience the weather. You experience the road. You experience the people interacting. You have the traffic, and
it's much more real to me than anything else that I do during the day. Like going to work and just repeating the same routine over and over again. Like going out and doing a ride like that is much more real to me than the.
Yeah, and you can relate to the locals.
Yeah,
because you live their culture for a short period of time, but you experience it. I have to say, I think traffic and culture is so close together. how people behave in traffic is their culture, and I consistently watch those videos from the Russian action.
Oh my God, the Russians, man, those people are fucking scary.
Yeah, but I have to be prepared if I want to go around the Baltic Sea, because
you do.
I'm really getting close there. And
did you watch Long Way Down or Long Way Around?
No.
Who is it? Ewan McGregor.
Yes.
Did a trip through Mongolia, like from the very top of Scotland, I believe, and he did all the way around to New York.
It's a nice idea, but it's the wrong bike.
Oh, I agree. I agree there.
I have a magazine. It's called Touring Biker in German, and if you see some documentaries in it about going on a tour, it's always a freaking fucking BMW.
Stupid Beamers.
And I really hate that, because touring is you're able to do it with your own bike.
Yep.
It's not depending on it if it's a freaking fucking BMW. And sorry, and it's too easy. A BMW is too easy to ride.
They're too comfy.
My decision to buy a Tracer was very close to the first and last test ride I did on a street triple.
Yep, I love my street triple.
I can understand why, because it's a mental bike. I really have to say, because here in Switzerland, traffic laws and are so strict and fines are so high. It's really not understandable why you can buy this bike here, because you can't really ride that bike in Switzerland. That was the first surprise I had. And Roland did tell me, back in the UK, you'll be a little bit more free with your riding style. You experienced it. And Roland told me that's exactly the way how bikers in Switzerland did ride back in the 80s.
Yeah, it makes sense. Your roads over there, amazing.
Yeah, but police controls are amazing.
Yeah, believe me, I've seen the numbers from the Top Gear tickets.
Yeah, but the problem is you can understand that, because every statistic says if you're going too fast, you're going to have an accident. But nobody ever researches the reason why you go too fast. If you have somebody, if you have a slow moving horse in front of you, you're getting so agitated that you're going to overtake at the impossible point, and that's the problem. I really can't understand that. And keeping the cool in normal traffic is so hard to accomplish.
I agree.
It's really important.
It's taken many years for me to get to that point.
Yeah, that's the reason why I really understand if somebody is 18 and able to drive or to ride in Switzerland, that they overdo it.
Of course.
Because we did it as well. We were young as well. Where's the problem?
Well, I mean,
you have to be smart.
You also got to look at, like, here you can buy, like, after you, there are no levels for bike license. Once you have your bike license, that's it. You can buy whatever you want.
Yeah, it's the same. It's a big bike.
Yeah, so you can get people here that are, relatively young on really big bikes.
Yeah, we have one problem in Switzerland. When I was doing doing my license, for the way I had to learn was the first time at 18 I could buy the biggest bike I could buy and ride was a 125.
Yeah.
Then I had to ride it for 2 years, and then I can redo a test with a big bike of my choosing, and after that it's free.
See, I'm okay with that. In some ways I agree, but however, I do think a 125 does lack a little bit of ass that you might need to get out of the way of things.
In a way, but it makes you smarter to read traffic.
Yeah, it would.
Search for the right place and time to use your bike. So it's good to get the feel of traffic.
That's one thing here that I think that we should do in looking at bike laws is I think we should have levels like they do in most other countries, because like one of the guys that I went to the bike school with, when I went to the DMV to get my that's Department of Motor Vehicles, if you don't have one of those.
I know a lot of the English speaking countries. Yeah, because it's very interesting to listen to some videos and to watch the problems they have, and it's very interesting. So,
but when I went to the DMV to get my license and everything done for the bike, one of the guys that was in my class, brand new, never been on a bike before. The only experience he had was riding around on the little 250s that we had in the class, and he went out and bought an R6 right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And so when I showed up at the DMV, he was there, and he had a cast because he had wrecked his brand new R6.
Who would thought of that? Ooh, that was very impressive when I was in my apprenticeship for being an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
If you managed to have an accident or even a speeding ticket with a 125, you were the bravest man alive. Because it's almost impossible to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little 125 they started selling here. They sell them all over Europe. They're the MX 125 Honda.
Yeah.
Here they're selling them as the Grom.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
I recently saw one in Switzerland here.
I want to get one just because it seems like it'd be so much fun.
In a way, but you need the big bore kit, the one.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I've looked at them and I'm like, all right, I'd spend this much on it, and then I'd spend this much on.
Yeah.
But I would love to get one just for shits and giggles, just to have kicking around.
I'm pretty sure it would be, in my case, it would look so ridiculous.
Of course.
I'm quite a tall man.
Oh yeah, I'm picturing you now.
I have a little bit overweight, and if I wear my protective gear, it looks like a ton on 2 feet. So it would be a sight for sore eyes, I guess. Oh well. But problem in Switzerland, coming back to the license thing, we have the problem. We are not part of the European Union. True. But all the time our politicians have to adjust our laws accordingly, because we are exporting a lot more than we are importing, and that's the reason we have to comply and have special treats. So the rules are the same right now. If you're going to make the license, or to achieve the license for bikes, you have the same rules as the rest of Europe.
Right.
You have those classes with the kilowatts or the horsepower. I think it's not that bad, because if you really want to ride around, it's not that important to have a high-powered bike.
Right.
Because
I get a lot of shit for that on the street triple. Everybody's like, "Oh, why didn't you go for the big one?" I test rode the big one. I don't need it.
Fucking hell! How many horsepower? 120 or 140?
I don't know. It's ridiculous. I know it's a 1050 cc engine.
No, I meant the street.
The street is 109. Is the no, it's not 109. It's higher than that, isn't it?
It's 120, I believe.
120, I think. Yeah.
It's way enough. It's so enough.
I know.
What's the problem?
Well, I test rode the speed triple, the big one, and it's okay. It's fun, but I don't need that horsepower. I don't need all that. I can have just as much fun. I'll have more fun on the 600 actually, because I can give it a little bit more. I'm much more confident with it.
It's more economical.
Yeah, exactly. And also I use it for commuting and going back and forth to work, as well as, I'll take some weekend rides and stuff like that. But I don't need the big sport bike to go from home to work.
Last April, I did test rides, and I'm going to do that next April as well. I only hope the weather isn't on the snowy side, because we have a kind of late winter this year, because no snow nowhere.
Really?
No, it's only up in the mountains. We have a little bit of snow.
Usually by this time during the year, we're actually fairly decently cool, but not this year. This year it feels like summer out.
It's too hot. It's really big, because I fear a little bit, because if I want to go on this special occasion, it's a 2-day test ride. I have to pay $10. It's not much.
Yeah.
And you can test ride whatever you want, because every big dealers is there. And this year, I went from.
I would do that. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Test rode a new Daytona, and it's the same engine, and this is bonkers.
I know.
And it was with a special exhaust, so it was even too loud for Switzerland.
Yep.
And it was bonerish good,
I do.
And
well, even the street will still catch me out sometimes, where if I'm really going, it'll surprise you.
Yeah, and
maybe only 600, but it'll go like a bat out of hell. If you give it some, it will go.
Yeah, and after that, I really test rode a speed triple, just for the heck of it.
Yep.
And I have to say, I wouldn't choose the bigger one.
No.
The small one is so enough.
I like the smaller one, because the small one feels much lighter. It feels like a 400-pound bike. It feels light.
Yeah, that's
real maneuverable, and I love the
if you
geometry of the bike. It's perfect.
if you ever try to test ride an MT-01, you feel the big difference, because I only know right now big bikes,
Mhm.
and the Tracer will be the first really light bike that I have.
Yeah.
I'm used to handle big, unwillingly bikes. So
You ever seen the Harley Davidson Road King?
seen, yes, but Harley Davidson is kind of a bike brand I really don't.
I don't either. Don't worry, but I have ridden one.
I
And
did as well. Last
I
April.
couldn't turn the stupid thing. I couldn't turn it. Every time I turned, I was scraping the pegs.
Yeah, it was the same. I did.
It's too wide, and it's too wide and low to the ground. I was like, I'm sorry, dude. I don't mean to scrape up your nice chrome shiny pegs, but I'm trying to turn around.
Don't care, because they have spare parts, because they're using
He's like,
parts.
no, don't worry about it. It's fun.
Oh no.
Like, I'm not trying to scratch up your bike, but I just can't help it. It's
a whole industry with the Harley Davidsons. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
But I was really big surprised the year before in 13, because I test rode a Victory. No, sorry,
Yeah.
Victory as well, but Indian, the biggest.
Oh yeah, I've heard a lot about the Indians. How are they?
Amazing. I never.
Is this the newer one or the old ones?
The new one.
Okay.
The Chieftain, the top end line bike, the big fat bomber. It really is heavy, but if you get this rolling, you don't feel it. It feels like just a small bike, and that's amazing. And you really can turn it. And the engine, I never experienced that. You have two dials in front of you, speed and
RPM.
RPM, yeah. And back in when I was in 6th gear in 30 miles, 30 miles an hour.
In 6th gear?
Yeah, no problem. 1200 revs.
I was gonna say it's not
1200 revs, no problem.
Wow.
You open up the tap, and I ever experienced that. You have to watch. You have to watch Jay Leno's test drive.
Garage.
Just do it for do it for the sake of this Indian. You open up the tap, and you see rising. The speed rises faster than the revs, and it pulls. It just pulls, even in 6th gear.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing that surprised me about the street triple, is that the torque is all over the place. Like in most 600s, it's you'll get your laggy spots, where in the speed.
Yeah, the magic. The 3-cylinder does its magic.
It does. It's magical. I love it.
When I test rode the MT-09, the first 3-cylinder that I really encountered, I was surprised, because a roundabout, a really small roundabout, because we have small ones, you normally have to shift down to the 2nd gear.
Yeah, at the very least.
I took it in 4th gear, and afterwards the speed was around 30 miles. I opened up afterwards full. It was a straight. I went up to 100 miles an hour, just in the same gear. I didn't need to shift down, shift up, whatever. It's way too fast. It was almost double the speed limit.
Yeah, I've pulled off in 2nd gear on the street. I've pulled off in 2nd gear, and I noticed it was a little bit sluggish, but it didn't jump out at me as being in 2nd gear.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I was searching for a 3-cylinder engine. It was very important.
I really am in love with the 3-cylinder engine.
Yeah, that's the reason why I really ordered that, and I'm still going to get that and have to pay it, of course, in spring. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, when I came into the UK, what I originally wanted to hire out was a Brutale.
All right, but this I saw a test ride from the Austrians called 1,000 PS, 1,000 horsepower, and they had a small circuit to ride around on it, and it was cold. It was autumn or even winter, and one thing they said is the Brutale is nice, but you have to rev it really high to have a good grunt.
I heard that as well.
I must say this is a no-go, because as a biker, you want to have torque.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to have torque with a low rev.
Yeah, with low rev, you still want your torque there.
That was
it was just something different that I hadn't ridden before, and they had one. So I was like, yeah, if I got a choice, I'll take the Brutale off you.
That was my experience when I test rode the MT-01, because
it was going to be either that or the S1000RR, but they wanted way too much to hire that one, so I didn't go that route.
Yeah, and before I had two inline four bikes, big bikes. Interesting, but it's kind of boring right now. And that was the reason why I was so surprised with my test ride of this big V2 engine. And it's really it's a handful. It's not easy to handle this bike. If you ever can make it back to the Monkey Meet, and if I'm there with the 01, you're more than welcome to try it.
All right.
It's really a heavy bike. It feels heavy, and it doesn't like turn in if you're not hanging on the throttle. But if you can manage this, it's so fun. It's so much fun to have this big amount of torque. I love this fucking behemoth, but it's really nice. And right now I have to say, now I have a Krapovics on it.
Yeah.
And it's a very
imagine it's got a great sound to it.
Oh yes, and you can't do it on a video.
Oh, of course not. It never does it right.
No,
never.
I have a similar mic on my disposal like RJ does, but it's not good. It's not good enough. That's the reason why I never showed somebody my test rides, because every time in April when I do test rides, sometimes with Roland and sometimes without him, I always get that mic and the camera, because I want to remember how I felt.
Right.
And it was very interesting. I even the first time we went, I even test rode a new Z1000 SX, and I have to say, this would be my death bike. That would kill me instantly, because it's not possible to ride it within the limits. It's not.
A buddy of mine had a KTM RC8.
All right.
And I rode that, and he had a chip in it and specially tuned and all kinds of craziness. And I rode it maybe about a quarter of a mile, turned around, brought it back. So I'm never getting on that again.
You know KTM Angry Dragon?
Oh man, that thing was ridiculous.
I rode this in this year. We switched bikes. Yes, I was on a bike rally with him in the beginning of July, and it was really nice. And one day we had a little ride out to McDonald's, I believe, or Burger King. I don't know, one or the other, and we switched bikes, and it wasn't really comfortable for me to ride on, because you can imagine, but it is a hell of a bike.
Yeah.
Really. And he is so loud, and he was very happy with the MT-01 as well.
Well, good.
Oh yeah, it wasn't easy for him to turn in, but the grunt is making up for every lack of problems you have.
No, man, just give it a little bit more and you're good to go.
Not every time. If you're up in the mountain passes, a little bit more can be very bad for your health. I guess there are some mountain passes without safety railings.
Yes.
So it's almost the same as in Italy or France, but most of them have those railings, so it's no big deal.
One thing that got me was riding out in the moors, and you got to look out for sheep. Because we came around this corner. I mean, I'm fully tucked in, and we pop out the other side of the corner, and there's sheep standing right in the middle of the road. That doesn't happen where I come from.
Brown stains, yes or no?
A little bit. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
But the brakes on, I was on a street triple again, and the brakes on those things are ridiculous. They're great.
Yeah, I trashed my MT-01 because of the brakes.
Really?
Yeah, I had a big accident where I crashed this big thing, and I had to buy a new frame, and my garage did the impossible. They transplanted the whole bike into a new frame.
Wow. And
this was back in 14 in June. Just around half a month before I started the new job. And it was not easy to cope with the problems I've got with the injuries.
Yep.
Because I was riding around at 50 miles an hour and had an accident because I was over braking in front because no ABS.
Yep.
And that's it.
You lose the front. That's a real quick way to meet the ground.
Yeah, but I still had time to shout out, "Not again." Really, not again. I can really good remember that because with the big venture, I had the same problem.
Yep.
And laid that thing down three times.
Wow.
And twice is on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
And if you ever try to lift up a 360 kilo bike, you know what it's going to be.
I've tried to lift a 400-pound bike on an. I've dropped the. Did you see my when I dropped the street triple?
Nope.
I dropped it down a levee.
Okay.
We were coming. It was really silly. It was slow speed maneuvering, and I was being a numpty.
Was it evening?
Oh, it was night.
Yeah. I remember now.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was. I usually can pick up the bike. It's fine, but not when it's on an angle sitting and you're trying to pick it up against the angle of the levee, and it just wasn't happening.
What's the conversion? Do you know pounds and kilos?
I don't. I could pull it up real quick.
If you want to, then you can. Then you can imagine how heavy my bike is. If you want, you see my accident on a pass. It was in the rain, and I encountered oil in a bend, in a hairpin bend. And for a short moment, you see, if you stop the video at the right time, you could see where my bike is lying on the right side, flat.
Wow.
Because always, if you drop the venture, that's something that's always happened. If you drop it, it lifts up. It lays totally on its side. None of the rubber is touching. The back tire isn't touching, so you have to lift it first onto the tires.
Tires first.
Then you have to lift it up.
Yep.
So it's kind of heavy.
Yeah. So 400 pounds is 181 kilograms.
Yeah, and I said 360 kilograms. Yes.
60. Oh, Jesus. It's nearly 800 pounds. It's double. No, no, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. It was. There was the conclusion in one video.
Yeah.
I have to lift it. It was, I grunted, and therefore I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was the other day. I went to stand up and I made a noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh no, I'm getting old. It wasn't like a, I don't know, but it was a noise I made when I was standing up. Oh no. One that got me even worse than that. I woke up. I hadn't done anything strenuous or anything that previous day, but I woke up and like I was sore, like I'd been doing something, like running a marathon or something. Like my whole back was just shot. And I was like, oh great, I've hurt myself in my sleep. I really am getting old.
Did you ever watch the comedian Billy Connolly, the Scottish guy?
Oh, I love Billy Connolly. He's brilliant.
Yeah, his decision of getting old and the signs of it, it's so nice and so accurate.
It's been a while since I've seen him, but yeah, I do enjoy my stand-up.
Oh yeah, yeah, me too. Yeah, well, did we have questionable content?
I think so. I think this was good.
Oh, I know. I noticed the time.
Yeah, midnight 30.
Nice. Yeah, and traffic is going to start
Yep.
in front of my place. It's foggy as hell. You can see.
I can't see actually.
50. Yeah, sorry. This really bugs me. It still bugs me because I was so certain it would work and it would be so nice if you really could see me. But
nah, that's how it happens. We'll get it next time because we're definitely gonna have to do this again. I had a really good chat with you, man.
Oh yeah, it was time was flying.
Oh yeah, totally. It doesn't feel like it's been like almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
The only thing that I really had to notice is the refill of coffee and to empty my bladder.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so. I have some new bikes soon.
Yeah, as do I. I need a fleet of bikes.
Yeah, but problem is you have to have time for maintenance.
You gotta have time, and you gotta have and money. You gotta insure them.
Yeah, kind of. One advantage I have over everybody else is the possibility of having two vehicles on the same number plate.
Really?
Yeah, we have different kind of number plates. You have number plates that are connected to the vehicle.
Not here.
Really?
Okay, yes. Here, your number plates aren't connected to the vehicle; they're individual. So, like, if I were to drop insurance on my car, say it wasn't running, and I don't have a car, but if I had a car, or even the bike, if I had to drop insurance, I would be required after I drop the insurance, because it's no longer a legal vehicle without insurance, to turn in my plate. And if I were to get insurance and get it registered again, I would get a new plate with a different number.
It's almost the same where I live. This number plate is registered to me.
Yeah, that registered to you here is how it works. But I don't think you can.
It stays with me. If I gave this number plate back for any reason whatsoever, they have to hold it back for a year, I believe. It's reserved for me. So
I believe the registration the number plates are registered to you.
Yes.
But they change for each vehicle. I don't think you could do multiple or the same number plate for the same vehicle or a different vehicle.
I can do that. We can do that but just for two.
That makes sense.
Same kind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have registered the Venture and the MTO1 on the same plate.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, for that reason, I only can drive one at a time.
Right.
And I have to move the number plate. And one big issue is every tax I have to pay. I just have to pay for the biggest one, the most expensive one. So I pay one, and the other one is for free. And that's so nice.
That is nice.
Yeah, because we have the same possibility on the cars.
Yeah.
So if you have two cars, and you can have it on the same number plate.
That's
You
nice.
you just pay the more expensive one. So it's not that bad. That was the reason why I chose to have a second number plate for the diesel bike, because the difference would be too high.
Yep.
And if I want to, I don't have problems. I can register the new bike on the diesel bike's plate, so no big deal. I will pay taxes and fees for the new bike because it's obviously more powerful and have a bigger engine.
Right.
And afterwards, I'm fine. I'm fine. So
yeah, that's pretty
it's
cool.
really interesting because I don't believe even the Germans don't have that. They have.
I'm not aware of anybody that has that really.
And
now I am for you, but
it's kind of nice because if you have multiple bikes, you can have it a bit cheaper, because otherwise it is freakishly expensive here, because all the insurance and tax, it's kind of very annoying. One thing that I really think is kind of a downside is this MOT thing, because we don't have to do it every year like the British does. And I think if you see some of the ruins on the road, I have to say it would be smarter to do it really every year.
Here we don't do MOT. We do something similar, which is like an inspection sticker.
Yeah.
And you can get those, I think, for up to 2 years. So you can buy an inspection sticker that'll last you 2 years. And yeah, there are buckets of bolts rolling around on the road. That's just kind of like, you shouldn't be driving that thing.
Yeah, normally the usual thing that happens in Switzerland is if you buy a new car or bike, you don't have to do an inspection on it.
That makes sense.
Initial one for 5 years.
Yeah, I was about to say 5 years, and you'd probably want to start doing it.
Yeah, and then it's 2 years the next interval, and then and with all old ones it should be 2 years.
That makes sense.
I never had to test my venture again. I bought that big thing back in 2010. So it's long way overdue.
Yeah.
And it's kind of difficult, because you never know when this problem will occur, because I have to do some work on it. It must be ready, and yeah, it's kind of concerning. But well, if they don't invite me for this checkup, I don't have to.
Yeah. That reminds me, I've got my license is expired, so I got to go take that or renew my license.
That's one thing that nobody would understand if I show my license, because I have the date of my test on it and no expiring date.
Do your licenses not expire over there?
Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's very bad.
So what happens when you get really old and
it's your decision or your relative's decision.
Okay.
We have laws that say if you reach 70, if you're not a commercial vehicle driver or a bus driver, you're not until 70. You're not. It's not mandatory to go to a health check. Okay. But if you reach the age of 70, then you have to do it for every 2 years. So you can keep your license, and that's the way it is.
I forget how long licenses last, but it's every couple of years, every few years they've got to go.
Our grandfather was driving with over 80, but he was told by his sons and daughters, his children, to stop driving because he wasn't sure enough.
I think my grandfather drove until he was 73, And he, for those last 3 years, he really shouldn't have been driving, but he was friends with the person that worked at the DMV, so they'd renew his license even though he'd failed the vision test.
Okay, that's the thing they do with the age of 70, because it's a doctor's test if you're fit to drive. And one thing, if you really have to, if you do drive trucks or buses, it's mandatory. It doesn't matter how young you are.
Yeah,
and it's really important. I think we should.
I think so. Yeah.
Law, because it would be smarter to renew or even redo the license test, because some people are really driving like asses, and it would be nice to see.
I think what I would like to see here for driving is just some better laws, just some more people, a bit more restrictive. I'm not saying lock it off, make it really hard to do, but make it a little bit more hard to do, because the shit that's people are getting away with is just insane. Like even for the bike class, I was amazed at the people that passed, because there were people that there's no way in hell I'd put them on a bike, and they passed the course.
Okay.
Everyone passed. No one failed at all. And there were some people in that class that did really, really poorly, but they still passed.
Okay, that's not so good. Yeah.
No, it's not. I would not feel comfortable riding anywhere near them.
I have to say, when I did my big bike license, I failed in a way, kind of, with the figure of 8.
That was the worst for me as well. It's okay.
I got the impression I failed.
Yeah.
They don't tell you. They just wait until everything is done.
Yep. And
then he told me it's okay. And I told him, yeah, but I stepped down there, and he said, okay, would you, if you drop the bike then, but you stopped it, so what's the problem? You need more practice, and you get the practice if you get the license.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
Well, I would have thought for sure I would have failed, but I didn't. I didn't think I failed, but I didn't think I did all that great. And apparently I was like one of the best in the class.
Okay.
Like I was, top 5 or something like that. But I didn't think I did that good, but apparently I did really well. But the figure 8, that got me. But also I made the instructor come and sit on my bike and do the figure of 8, because I was convinced that the clutch on the bike didn't do a goddamn thing.
All right.
So because I was struggling with the figure of 8, he didn't want us fiddling around with the brakes too much. He wanted clutch control. I was like, all right, it's fine. But after I did it a few times, I was like, dude, you come and sit on the bike and you do it, because this clutch is a piece of shit.
That's the problem with the non-hydraulic clutches, because you have free play. Yep. And if you turn in left and right, the free play changes. Yep. That's the problem. And the solution to that problem is using a hydraulic clutch.
Yeah.
Because there you don't have that problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, because I was doing that test on the FJ 1100.
Yeah, I know those.
That thing doesn't have a hydraulic clutch, so I know the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
he agreed. Even he agreed. I mean, the bikes we were on were 250s, and there were trainer bikes that had been beaten up pretty well. And so I put him on the bike, and he rode it around, and he agreed. He goes, "Yeah, the clutch is a pain in the ass. It probably needs to be, something needs to be done to it. It just make some adjustments or tighten up the bars, maybe. I don't know, but it was in bad shape.
Okay.
Or tighten up the lever rather, and." Yeah, so he understood my difficulty with the figure 8, because he was like, all right, I kind of get what you're saying. Thank you.
Okay.
He was still able to do it, and so was I eventually. But
yeah, challenges. It's always nice to overcome those.
Yeah.
Yeah. At that time, when I did my license, I had a little problem. No, I remember. FJs have hydraulic clutches, because I had problems, because it was leaking oil just days ahead of my date to do the test.
Mhm.
And if you have a technical problem with the bike, it's an automatic fail.
Yeah.
It's kind of a custom in Switzerland, or was back in the day. Everything was considered from a 250 and upwards was considered a big bike. So there were many people who just rented a small bike like a 500 or 250 just to do the test, and afterwards they bought big bikes and failed themselves in a way.
Yeah.
Because if you don't use your bike at the test,
Right.
It's cheating yourself,
It's
because
cheating,
you're not able to do the maneuvering on your bike.
Right. If you're not able to do the maneuvering on the bike you're going to ride every day, then that's a problem.
Yeah, but I never saw somebody on a Harley taking a test really big, because
I don't blame them, because it'd be difficult as fuck making those turns.
Yeah, but
Do a figure eight in a Harley.
Yeah, but if you manage to do it, then you can ride.
Yeah.
Agree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you want to prove to somebody else you are worthy to ride around, then you have to do it with the most difficult bike.
Yeah.
Not the easiest ones.
Well, that was my thing is, like, I had a KLR 650, which has got this it's super tall.
Yeah.
For me, like, it was on my tippy toes, but I got used to having that much room around me, and I could really get the bike over in either direction.
Yeah.
And you put me on this little 250, and I go over just a little bit, and I'm scraping the edges, and it's just kind of like it's a different feeling. I'd much rather go through the course on my own bike.
Yeah, that's always frightening me a little bit when I change bikes.
Yeah.
Because if you have a bike that's really crisp to ride, and have a decent chassis and good brakes. If I then change to the Venture, who is really difficult to throw in the corners, and you can, that's the most important thing. That's the reason why I chose not the Honda Goldwing. I chose this one because you can have, you're just the air ride on to the highest level.
Yeah.
I'm competing in the mountains, because this thing is really interesting to throw into the corners.
Yeah.
I still remember Darren, the first time I went over there, and we had a ride out to Krispy Kreme, and I was at the same speed as those two with the small bikes, and I remember him telling me I wasn't aware that you can ride this big fucking thing. I was revving the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Because it still is an old V Max.
Yeah, it is.
It's detuned, but you can retune it to have a real V Max underneath with 150 horsepower.
Yep.
So if you want to, but I decided not to, because it's too old.
Right.
And I would say I don't want to break it just for the sake of a little bit more power, because it's comfy enough and it's nice enough, and if I rev it until to the red line, it's no big deal.
Right.
It still lives to that. That's the reason why I still keep it.
Well, that was one of the problems I had with the KLR is the brakes were absolute shit. They were absolute dog shit. And there's a video I've got of me running into somebody because the brakes just they didn't do anything. It didn't felt like they were properly built, but they were just there wasn't enough of them.
Yeah, of course. Most
people get there wasn't braided lines, but most people would do braided lines and a bigger rotor. Yeah. But I had neither upgrade on, and I planned on replacing it anyway. And yeah, but I ended up rear-ending somebody because the brakes were dog shit. Somebody up in front of me they'd changed their mind about halfway going through a light if they were going to go stop. Yeah. And so I ended up having to stand up on the brakes, which is fine. I locked up the rear tire, and just kept it locked and tried to alternate the front to try and get myself slowed down, but there wasn't enough brake.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas with the street triple, I mean, I'll stop on a dime, no problems. If I'm not careful, I'll stoppy. I'll put the rear tire in the air.
Yeah, it's the best way to make an emergency stop.
You stop real quick.
Yeah, it's mandatory to do it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bigger rotors. If you would live in Switzerland, you would know that it's not possible.
No.
You have to no. It has to stay as original as possible. I had back in 2010 when they had to MOT my bike, because every time you sell a bike or buy a bike, there is the possibility you have to do an MOT or this testing, and that's the problem, because one of my rotors in front was too thin, and because it's a bike it's from build date is 1989.
Mm-hmm.
The original rotor is not, you can't get that, but Yamaha told this is the replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And on the MOT I did braided lines as well, because I wanted to stop better.
Right.
And
yeah, because if you get those lines hot, they're just going to swell, or you're not going to get any stop.
Changing those lines in Switzerland means you have to show it to the authorities,
right,
to do a test. And I was there, and they were complaining about the disc.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not original.
It's not the original disc. Well, you can't get the original disc anymore.
I did get the original disc.
Okay.
eBay, USA, it's nice. I do have two front discs, are wide enough, no problem.
Yep.
So the next time I have to do MOT, I have new brake pads, fit those on it.
Do they check that far? Do they actually look at your brake pads?
Oh yeah, because they have,
for an inspection here, they didn't bother looking at my brake pads. They made sure the lights worked. That was it.
No, it's a thorough thing in Switzerland, because they have the unofficial action to get rid of the old bikes and old cars.
It makes sense
in a way, but if you have a really good old car,
you should still be allowed to keep it, I would think.
Yes, but it's getting, every year it's getting harder and harder, because they change some small laws, but the only upside is you can't change something that must be true back in the day. So if you change the law, you have to have a third brake light, for example. You can't change something back in the 60s, because on every build year you have your regulations, and they can't change that, because those regulations back in the day are staying valid until now. So that's the only thing they can do is get on the originality, because if you change something and they say, okay, it might be good, but it's not original, therefore illegal.
Yeah,
that's the only way you can get rid of old bikes and old cars in Switzerland. It's hard, because there are really so many old bikes and enthusiasts, and
I like the old stuff. The old stuff's good.
Yeah, for example, that was an information that I never had until I saw a certain video from Ferrari. In Switzerland, you have the highest Ferrari density per capita than everywhere else, not even
really?
In the world. Yes, because here you have like barns, like backyards.
Yeah.
And garages, stowaway. You don't believe what in this country people have back.
Just in a barn.
Yeah, they don't show it. If you have a nice day out
There was
And
an old muscle car I almost had. It was a 62 or maybe it was 66 Camaro SS with a big bored out engine.
Ooh, I would today. You could kill if you import that to Europe. They would kill for that because.
Yeah. I almost had it. I mean, it needed some work. It had basically been stuck in a barn, and half the barn had like rotted away. So like half the body panels needed to be replaced. Like down the center line of the car was like it was all rusty. So you need to replace like half the body panels. But that's a really, really, it would have been a really good car to fix up and get going.
Yeah.
I really wish I would have had that. I didn't have a place to put it though.
Yeah, and I guess the money would be a problem as well.
Yeah, at the time, because even body panels for that year Mustang, I looked it up. Even the body panels was going to run about 10 grand.
Yeah,
just in body panels.
Yeah, I was surprised because one day I had an appointment for work as a standard electrician, and I had to rewire something in a garage, and the owner was the owner of a company that refurbishes frames, artwork frames.
Okay.
From pictures, like in the gallery. So it's kind of unique thing to do.
Well, that's what my wife does. She has excuse me, she has a framing shop. She frames artwork and stuff like that for people.
Yeah, but he was revitalizing the old ones.
Yeah.
So the very expensive ones from the museums.
Right.
So, and at that time he was 93, right? And
wow.
Still working because he hadn't somebody to success him.
Right.
And, that's a problem. What did I see when he opened his garage?
Ferrari.
No.
F430. I don't know. What'd you see?
Mach 1.
Oh, that's a pretty car.
White interior, original leather, only cracks in the leather and a little bit on the driver's side.
Yeah.
From getting out and into the car. Lime green, original color, in a mint condition. And he told me the reason why he had this car, because it was at that time the only one who can fold the back seats down to a really flat surface. And he told me he was delivering pictures to the Louvre in Paris with this car.
Oh, that had to be fun. Come on, driving across, Yeah,
at that time, even
that had to be good.
Petrol and gas would be cheap.
Oh yeah, that had to be.
That's the problem. And the condition, I was almost smack dead.
Well, the man loved his car. Obviously, took good care of it.
Yeah, and I'm still a big fan of American cars. I
like the old muscle cars, but I think I forget when they started, but I think it's sometime after even some of the 60s muscle cars. They became pieces of shit. They just stopped putting quality in.
Yeah, I know.
They're starting to come back with it. Some of the newer ones aren't too bad, but you also you'll do better off getting a tuning company like Roush or something like that will take one of those cars in and fix it up.
Yeah, but if the gas prices are continuously higher and higher, you get better. You get
have you seen the
without an American car? We should have an European.
Yeah. Have you seen the gas prices here though?
Yeah, $4 or $5.
No,
$4.
No. Like at the moment, it's like $1.90.
Really, so cheap?
Oh, it's dirt cheap. It's as cheap as it's been in years.
It's still a gallon, right?
Yeah, per gallon.
Yeah, we have per liter price.
Yeah, you go per liter.
Yeah, and we have even higher prices than the UK.
Oh yeah, your prices are insane. Like I believe me, I rode around quite a bit. Your prices are.
Yeah, I know.
A bit steep. Or UK prices at the very least are
insane for the people living in the UK and living on the UK wages.
Yeah.
But If you really translate the price, I did that when I first went over there to a bike meet.
Mhm.
I have to say UK had even higher prices than Switzerland, and Switzerland.
Well, they
is
pay. That's a
no-
lot of tax. A lot of tax goes into their petrol.
Yeah, it's the same here, but you don't see people stopping driving around even Sundays.
I
So
know.
the government says, okay, if you're happy with that higher price, then we keep it. I had
My problem with it is that it's I don't know. That's a really long discussion. It's our fuel here seems to be government subsidized, so the government pays a lot for it to keep the prices low. But the oil companies, they make huge profits every year,
yeah.
and yet the government continues to subsidize them, which I think is ridiculous.
It's the wrong way around, but
It is.
it's the way like politics works like today.
Yeah, they use the money to get their politicians in. The politicians in keep the laws that keeps them making money.
One thing that here that I can be sure of in Switzerland is the taxes of the gas will go into public transport and road.
And that's a problem here. Is that I mean, everybody's this here is like they're so happy that we're the lowest taxed area. And they're like, yeah, we were the lowest taxed, but also look at our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is absolute crap. Like our roads are terrible. Like our schools are absolutely terrible. Like our public schools anyway. It's the reason we're low taxed. Like it's because we don't spend anything on our infrastructure. We have virtually no public transportation.
Yeah, and it's no big deal. It's no smart thing to do.
I agree.
Because if you save money on roads, there will be a time when you have to redo all of them.
Yeah.
And nobody can do that.
Right, and it's not just that. It also saves the people have more money to put into the economy of the city because they're not spending it repairing their cars from riding around on crappy roads.
Yeah, nice. It's kind of a very small thing to do. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, they're like, oh well, low taxes are obviously the best way to go. It's like, not really. Sometimes it's good to have taxes. Taxes are beneficial.
That's the reason why I hate those people with big money in Switzerland who always pay little to no taxes.
Of course. Because, yeah, there's a bunch of those idiots here too.
Because they don't understand that. If they don't have their argument, if they don't have children, why I have to pay schools?
Right.
Yeah, but you own a company and you have workers.
Employees, they have children, and also you want to keep smart people and smart employees coming into your company to help make you money. Then you'll want them to be educated.
Yes, and you should give a decent amount of money to your workers, because maybe your workers buying your own products.
Right. Well, that seems to be something we want to miss here, is that the more money you pay your workers, the more money they have to put back into the economy to buy products from your company. If you're not paying your workers anything, and that's going on across the board, then the economy is going to suffer because nobody's spending any money on anything.
I guess my best guess would be the reason if you shut down a company, all the highest paid people are still receiving money out of that.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why they are not interested in the well-being of the company in a way.
Of course not.
Their money, and
of course not. Their contracts are in there to where they make bonuses. So the company could be doing horrible. It doesn't matter. They're still pulling in, $400 million a year. Why? Because it's in their contract.
We tried to do an interesting law against that, but it was we have a different kind of system. We have to vote for certain laws. The whole Swiss people have to vote, because
is voting compulsory?
Yeah, no, it's not, and that's the problem. But the people are in our system of state. is we are the last one who can tell something.
Mm-hmm.
The highest judge is the people, or are the people, and that's one really interesting thing. But it's always hard to understand. We had tried, our parliament tried an initiative. It was called 1 to 12. We wanted to get it into the law that the difference between the highest earnings and the lowest earnings wouldn't be more than 12-fold. And that could mean two things: less money for the higher 1%, or the best paid room service that you ever would have. But we didn't agree with it, and that's a problem, because nobody understood what the real interesting thing could be. Everybody they have always the fear that big companies going to go outside or away from Switzerland.
Yeah, we get that a lot too.
But it's not solely the tax reason to be in Switzerland. It's everything else, because we are quite secure.
Yeah.
The only part where you can have a problem in Switzerland is it's in Geneva. Right now, yesterday it was something to do with a Paris attacks.
Yep.
They had arrested some terrorists, so on. Of course, because United Nations headquarters is in Geneva, I believe, or something. New York, I don't know. Geneva is kind of a international point where it happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only part of Switzerland that's kind of in danger, because everywhere else nobody interested.
Right.
Nobody gives a shit. That's the reason I don't understand that.
I've had arguments with people.
Terrorist warnings. I don't know why, because nobody is going to attack us, because
I've had to explain that to a few people here that freak out, like, oh, what if we get a terrorist attack? No one's gonna attack us. We're not that interesting. No one cares about you enough. I'm sorry, we're not that important.
How was the reaction?
They're like, oh yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. Yeah, or people that are worried about, oh, somebody's gonna hack into my computer. No, you're not that interesting. You have to be interesting for someone to hack into your computer. Oh, yeah. Or, oh, the government's watching me. Like, yeah, I've got enough people to watch. You're not that interesting.
Yeah, what for?
Why are they watching you? What are you doing?
Are you doing something illegal? Okay.
Well, you'll get like the crazy conspiracy nuts that are assume that the government's listening in on everything I do, and no, they're not. They've got better shit to do. You're not that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully they have better shit to do. I mean, if they really want to see what porn I look at, I mean, okay, but
yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, and I can relate to that, because I think it's the same. People take themselves way too seriously. They think they matter, but everybody is replaceable. Really, everybody.
Yeah, and you matter to the people that are in your lives. But I mean, as long as if you're not, like, I can understand them looking in on you if you show, like, you've traveled all these places, or maybe if you're doing something interesting to establish a pattern and they're looking at you, then maybe. But if you're just some dude, you're really not all that interesting. Hackers aren't going to attack you just because you're on the internet.
Yeah, if you don't have much money,
especially if you're not, if you're making millions of dollars, then they might come after you. But if you're just Joe Schmo with an average credit rating and maybe $1,000 in savings, maybe.
Yeah, but that's the problem that I see in America, because there are parts
It's
of
a big problem.
America where the poor robs the poor.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't make a freaking sense.
Well, there are also businesses out there that are made to keep the poor poor, and also the poor aren't educated. Like, for instance, shoes, something as simple as shoes. So like, I buy really, really high quality, or not super high quality, but I buy really good shoes, really high quality shoes.
Yeah.
So I don't have to replace them all the time. But if you go to a store and buy like, a cheap pair of shoes, by the time mine have worn out, you've already paid for a pair of mine in replacing the pair the cheap pair that you bought.
One good.
And there's loan companies that basically they're payday loans. So you take out a loan and you pay it back when you get paid, but the interest on those loans is insane. So poor people have to go and take these loans, and then they spend the rest of their money trying to get caught up on these loans, and it's a parasitic entity that survives on the money of the poor.
Yeah, but it only would really work if somebody would pay not only the interest, the whole money back. Because in my book of calculations, you can't, if you give somebody $5,000 and they can't pay you back, and they pay interest of it, you always lack those $5,000. So where is the money to be made?
Here's where the money's to be made. How they're allowed to sell debt here. So if like I owe money to a company, that company can take all of its debt, so all of the people that owe them money, and they can sell that debt as a package to another company. So now instead of owing the original company the money, I owe a different company the money. And they've gained money from selling that debt off to an agency that specializes in collecting debt.
I saw the documentary Inside Job about months ago. I can really understand that.
Yeah.
But the thing I don't understand is they don't want to have regulations on it.
Oh, of course not. There used to be regulations, and the whole economic collapse thing that happened in 2008.
Yeah.
That originally they tried to do something similar. Like there was a plan to do something similar back in the 80s, and there was a lot of at that point in time regulations were a lot stricter.
Yes.
And they prevented this economic or this bubble thing from happening. They prevented all of this corruption, essentially, even though what they're doing is legal. But they prevented all of this bad stuff from happening through the use of regulation. Well, since then, the banks have figured out that if they put enough money into the political system and get the politicians on their side, then they can use the politicians to deregulate things. And they succeeded this time in 2008. They succeeded with their plan of siphoning massive amounts of money up to the top.
Yeah, but it's all not real money. So
I know it's all fake, made up numbers.
So what good is it? Nothing.
Nothing really.
No, I know. That's the reason why I don't want to have a lot of money, because you only have a lot of problems with it.
Right. I'm not interested in making a lot of money. I want to be comfortable, and ultimately just want to be able to do something that I'm interested in doing.
Yeah, but I got always the impression you appreciate something way more and look way better after it if you have to save money.
Yeah, if you've worked for it.
And you can relate to time of your life.
Yeah.
And therefore you don't really buy so many things that you really don't need.
Right. The things I do buy, I try to buy as quality as I can so it'll last.
Yeah.
What I look for is something's ability to last, and I look for quality. And I don't buy a lot.
I have a good friend with his own mechanical shop, and he always told me he hasn't got enough money for cheap buys.
Yes, exactly.
It's so important, because if you really, as you said it, if if you want to buy something smart, then you have to buy a decent quality, not the highest, because always the highest quality isn't possible,
Right.
because you always pay the brand more than what you want, but not the cheapest thing. And
Right.
I really hate that, to see people have to buy only the cheapest thing because they don't have enough money.
Yeah.
Because that's the downside. That's the only thing that should be corrected. And therefore, to come back to that, that's the idea of getting rid of this freaking money.
I
Like
think
you
the money
in
idea is a bad idea.
Star Trek, because people are so easier. If you don't have to, if you really don't have to worry about money, you
Yeah.
can do whatever you like.
Yeah.
You can accomplish to know more and get knowledge.
I think as far as taking away, or the way to get away from the monetary system, I think eventually we're going to get there. Just look at how we're automating all these jobs. I think eventually, if we can build robotics sophisticated enough to take over all jobs.
Yeah, and then?
Like, I think we have the ability to take care of everybody as far as food and a place to live and basic needs. And then anything that you want above and beyond that, you can go and work or sell art, or you can do things to get the things, the big things, the big luxury things that you want, but you have to work for them.
With purpose, yes. But I believe it was yesterday evening, I saw something, a documentary. Could be the day before yesterday.
I watch a lot of documentaries.
In the German, it was a German documentary.
Mm-hmm.
The one was called Thirst, and the second was called Hunger. And they really they showed the problem we have.
Mm-hmm.
If we reach 10 billion people.
Yeah. I do think I think overpopulation is a topic that many people aren't able to, that they don't want to look at. But I think it's something we have to address, because most of our problems as people stems from the fact that there are too many of us.
Yeah, and one part I see I really constantly see that if nobody wants to change something really, because the way it is, they're making money and they're going to lose money if we change it. Yeah. But the problem is it doesn't make.
But the money's meaningless if nobody survives.
Oh, sorry. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's just 1% of the whole world population has everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense because they are not self-sustaining.
Right.
But they don't know that right now. And that's the problem, because
I think there are a fair amount that do, but the problem is that the system up until this point has been built this way, and so how do you? I mean, to change the direction of a 70,000 ton or 70 million ton ship, I mean, it takes time. So we're got to figure out a way to change the direction. The hope is that we figure out a way to change the direction before we run into the proverbial iceberg.
Yeah, of course. I think the best way to describe the learning curve of a really rich man could be if people are queuing for a loaf of bread at the bakery, and he's desperate. The rich man would be desperate to have a loaf of bread, and offers somebody with a loaf of bread coming out of the bakery a lot of money.
Yeah.
For this, and the other person declines because
bread's worth more than your money.
Yeah, that would be a good learning curve for the wealth 1% we have, because there will be a time where this would apply.
Right. Well, I think it all boils down to supply and demand, and I mean sometimes those I mean there are lots of times where money is worth nothing and bread is worth everything. Like bread feeds my family. Money doesn't do shit for me.
But the whole industry that only feeds and cares about the whole rich people, they always find people who would give up happily their loaf of bread, and that's a problem. So therefore, I think I hope we could save this problem or solve this problem before we reach the point of getting a loaf of bread is a problem.
Yeah, I do too. But
the only way I can contribute, and I do that, is I try to spend my money on the smart places.
Yeah.
And get to know interesting people.
Yeah.
And have fun.
Pretty much. Well, the way I see it, I mean, I can go through life being paranoid and worried about all this stuff, which sure, it's a lot to worry about. I can talk about it with people and kind of help spread the whole idea, and at least get people thinking about it maybe. But ultimately, I mean, I just need to have experiences that are beneficial to me.
Yeah, of course.
That bring some sort of value to me. Then
the other experience are to forget as soon as possible, or avoid to have.
Yeah,
it's always. Yeah, it's always the same. We are really only one people. It doesn't matter which country you are from.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what country you're from, what religion you are. None of that shit matters. We're all a single species. If we want to survive, we have to do it intelligently. And yes, that means that some of us can't reproduce. Oh no.
Yeah, and
I think that's a great idea. I personally am tired of traffic. We could probably have a few less people.
Yeah. If there would be a rapture, it would be the day after would be dream.
Oh, it'd be fantastic.
Yay! Yeah, it would be. In a way, I'm pretty sure there would be enough people left on this planet to have fun afterwards.
Oh yeah,
if rapture would happen, and all the boring people would be gone.
Yeah. Well, that's always been my argument, though, because I'll get the whole what if I'm wrong about religion?
I don't care.
What if you're wrong? Is like, well, if I'm wrong, then the people going to heaven are probably going to be heaven's probably likely to be the most boring place on the face of the planet, filled with insufferable people that I can't stand, whereas hell's going to be full of the interesting people. I'll go to hell, and I'll probably have a much better time there than you will in heaven.
Oh yeah. So that's the only adventure that I think lies ahead of me.
Yeah.
That I have to endure for myself.
Yeah.
The moment I will die.
Well, I think anybody that claims they know what happens after death, you're full of shit. No one knows.
But to really have peace on earth, it would be so good if somebody could come back and tell everybody how it is, because then you're wrong, you're right, you're wrong, you're right,
and also what are the what if I'm wrong? Okay, well, what if you're wrong? What if you got the wrong religion and the Jews got it right, or the Hindus got it right? How do you know?
Yeah, I know. It's hard, but if you ever had this question solved, that would be quite interesting, because it would crush the society and build a new one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Afterwards, faith would be clear, because there is only one that's right, and everything else is waste of time.
Yep. Well, all of them claim to be the one true way, or the only way, and it's like you all claim that, and none of you have any proof. So
that's the reason why it's called a belief, right?
Yeah. But how about you just don't be a shithead? Try to be a little bit less of a shithead than you were the previous day, and do that every day, and try to bring, even if it's just one person, just try and bring a little bit, make their life a little bit better.
Do you remember the film where people get I don't know, Paid Forward, I believe was the name, where you have to give somebody, a stranger, something really important. It was a children's project, I believe.
Okay.
You have to watch it, because I really think that would be the way our society should work.
Yeah.
Because if I care about the well-being of my neighbor, not my well-being, then somebody will care about me.
Right.
And you connect the joy of giving to this concept. So the idea is very interesting, because the movie is so freakishly good. Because you see in the beginning, you see somebody is breaking down with his shitty car. Then a Jag stops, and the person get out, and here's your new car. Give him the keys. And you don't understand why this happened.
Right.
It's going to be explained later in the movie, and it's so nice, because it doesn't matter.
Right.
Who cares for me? It only matters that one does.
Yeah.
Just one. It's enough. And if I care about the well-being of my neighbor, it's somebody would do for me, and it's really a good idea. That's the reason why it's called Pay It Forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll have to look that up. No, I've always had the idea that if everyone on the face of the planet tried to make everyone else's life just a little bit better, even just a little bit,
yeah,
it'd be a great place to live.
Yeah, because somebody or even multiple people would care about you,
right?
Your life. So everybody else who always asks, "What's in it for me?"
Right. It doesn't. What's in it for you is that it doesn't matter. What's in it for you? What's in it for you is not important.
There is a radio station of the area where I live in that started broadcasting in the 80s. I was there because I was on the radio, and they have this second Christmas thing about mostly children. They can ask for something, because we have working poor as well in Switzerland. And it's always nice to see. This year, you wouldn't believe it, they had around 900 wishes, and they were all granted in one day.
Wow, that's awesome.
And if you see the studio, there is going to pile up with gifts. It's always very amazing, because they are reporting afterwards the reaction. So
that's one good thing. I think that news agencies and stuff, I think they should do. They should report good things like that.
Yeah, of course. And
shouldn't all just be bullshit or fear tactics and be scared of the terrorists. It shouldn't always be that just because that sells news time or ad time.
And this year I realized that another station that I regularly listen to because of my long commute does the same. Okay. So I'm guessing there was a spreading of the idea, so that every region in Switzerland does that, and it's really nice to see, because if there is an impossible wish, you make it possible. What's the problem?
Well, I'm a bit of an optimist. I tend to hope that we're going to do better as people. I think we're slowly starting to come around. I think more and more people are getting online or coming online with the whole idea and starting to really take a critical eye about us as a species and our place in the world and the nature of reality. I think a lot more people are coming around to that. And so I'm optimistic that we'll be able to fix things in time before we destroy ourselves. But there still is the possibility that we may, end up killing ourselves before we figure it all out.
Yeah, it only depends on your own character, I believe.
Yeah.
It's just that. I really was surprised on the second half of a strange documentary from South Africa.
Mhm.
I was told they are planning to do something really interesting.
So,
First, they're going to sue for a certain thing, but that's not the really important part. The important part was the idea of the next kind of doing having a society without money. They thought about like a small village in Africa. If everybody gives just 2 hours
Mhm.
to do community work, could you imagine what happens if you have a town of 2,000 people, two
Yeah.
hours a week, and the other time you have for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you are good, for example, if you're a good carpenter, you can show that to somebody like an apprenticeship, but with no money.
Yeah.
It would be so nice, because if you have
Yeah. It was
2,000 work hours at your disposal,
Mhm.
can you imagine what you can do in a community?
Yeah.
You have
There's a lot of businesses that do really well, and like I forget the name of the company. There's some company in Australia that has done some amazing things, and what they do is they set aside a good chunk of time during the year. They still pay their employees, but their employees are to go out and to come up with their own thing, like
All
come
right.
up with an idea,
That's
and
good.
they're paid free time. They get to do whatever they want to with it.
Yeah.
But they want them to do something creative and try and come up with another idea. And the company's done amazing things simply because the people within the company, for one, they love what they do. They love their company, but also they're incentivized in going out, and they're given paid time to go and pursue something.
Yes.
And so many really good ideas have come out of that sort of situation.
Yeah, and the feedback that the company, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good idea.
I think so. Anyway, man, it's like 1:30 in the morning here.
Yeah, I'm having daylight right now because it's 8:30. You know.
Yeah.
It's still foggy like hell, and the fog is piling up. 50 meters visibility right now, but I don't care, because in a few hours there will be sunshine, and I'm going to ride.
I hope you enjoy it, man.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm gonna get out of here.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You have a wonderful Sunday.
You as well. Hope so.
Yeah, it's Sunday now.
Yes. Yes, it is the 13th of December.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, you have a lovely day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some sleep.
I'm going to try to fix my problem with my camera. So I may be able to join some hangouts, because I always get invited from Skate Cruises for the Thursday
he does his,
night hangout, but it's way too late for me, because
but
they scheduled it at 9 o'clock in the evening. It's 10 o'clock already here, and if I have to go up at 4:30 in the morning, and I should be a little bit aware of my surroundings.
Well, mine is, it usually happens during the day while I'm at work, and by the time I get home and I'm able to get on to the hangout, it's like everybody's about ready to leave. So I'm on for like the last 5-10 minutes, and then I'm gone. Everybody leaves, so it's like, oh well.
Yeah, so that's the problem. That's the problem. We are on a ball with different time zones, but it's always nice to have, against those odds, a chat like we had.
I agree, but I really enjoyed the chat, man. We're gonna have to have you on again at some point
with something else that instead of my silly picture. because I have a longer beard right now, but yeah, I'm not able to show it.
Well, mine will get pretty long. I probably won't cut it till about February, March.
Yeah, you have an amazing beard, because my sides are crap. That's the reason why I only have a
It
goatee.
needs to be trimmed. It's not as clean as I usually keep it pretty tight. Yeah, but toward the end of it, oh man, it's a great beard. I love my beard.
Yeah, but Dutch Rudder has an amazing
Oh,
beard.
he does, doesn't he?
That's always incredible to see him.
I'm so happy that, because he was going to cut it, and I was like, no, man, don't cut the beard. Don't cut the beard.
No.
He's like, oh, yeah, I'll just shave it off. And I was like, all right, well, if you're going to shave it off, be sure to shave your vagina, too.
All right.
He hasn't shaved. I love his beard. It's a great beard.
Yeah, it so fits to his face.
It does.
It really is. It's good. All right, Miles.
All right, man.
Go to bed. Have a
Yep.
nice.
You have a good day or a good Sunday.